leadership that makes work fun again. In a world where Monday blues and workplace burnout have become the norm, what if leadership could transform the daily grind into something we actually look forward to? Effective leadership isn't about iron fisted authority, but rather creating environments where human connections flourish and work becomes meaningful again. Today's rapidly changing workplace demands leaders who understand that culture can't be mandated. It must be cultivated through trust, fellowship, and what our guest calls charity, the art of bringing love into the workplace. Meet Shauntel Murphy, a global leadership speaker, executive coach, and author who spent 2.5 decades in corporate America studying what makes great leaders truly effective. After witnessing both exceptional and toxic leadership firsthand, she founded Wishing You Well in Life. Her unique approach to helping burned out executives and emerging leaders create workplaces people actually want to return to. Chantel joins us to share her goal framework for leadership excellence and explain why workplace relationships might be the missing ingredient in your organization's success.
Welcome to Impctrs Out Loud. I'm your host, Tracy B. Allen. Impctrs Out Loud is where social impact meets strategy, spotlighting trailblazing entrepreneurs, their challenges, and the revolutionary innovations driving real change. Each week, we dive into powerful stories, strategies, and insight to inspire and equip those passionate about making an impact through business.
Hey everyone, and welcome to an episode of Impctrs Out Loud. Today we have with us Shauntel Murphy, and she's here to talk to us about leadership and workforce development. And as we know, it is a huge subject right now, especially with everything that's going on in our society. So hopefully she'll drop some really good tidbits that you can take and run with and, develop your skills a little better or get in contact with her and let her help you to do it. So Shauntel, welcome to Impctrs Out Loud. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what's your cocktail?
Yes, absolutely. So, a little bit about myself is I am from San Francisco, California, and I worked in the corporate world for probably 2.5 decades. And when I was working inside of the corporate world, I really was able to study leaders. I worked with some phenomenal leaders, and they really were able to teach me a lot. And then I started working for some leaders that weren't so great. And it really made me take a deeper dive into the art of a good leader. So within those 2.5 decades, I studied leaders. I studied their behavior. I studied how they did their analysis. I studied about how they did do their workforce development, how they really took that time out to lead the organization and be that model of best practices. So one of the things is that, of course, as you know, as things started to evolve, I started to see a lot of problems within that structure. So I had to extract myself out of the corporate world. And then I started my own business, which is Wishing You Well in Life. And that is a term of endearment because this is my gem back to the economy. This is my servitude to leaders that are out there and to really make it where it's fun to really go back to work again. And within that field, I do serve as I'm an author, a global leadership speaker, and an executive and corporate coach. So it's never a dull moment. And I'm really having some fun out here.
Listen, I think what you said was so funny. I've never heard those two words put together before. But it's true, making it fun to go back to work again.
Yeah.
Because I know most people, when they think about Monday or just think about if they've been out of, the workforce for a while and they're having to go back, it's dreaded. It's not something that anybody wants to look forward to. So making going back to work fun, I like that. So tell us a little bit about how we're gonna make going back to work fun. Because I know if I had to leave my business and go back to a 9 to 5 job,
Mm-hmm.
I think I would just go crazy.
Well, The one thing about it though, Tracy, is that like
Mhm.
as a child, I watched my mom enjoy going to work. It wasn't the actual work, but it was the people there at the job.
People.
Like she met some of her best friends at the job. They used to go
Nice.
shopping together after work. They would do happy hour after work. So it's all about like those connections that we make. It's the camaraderie that's there. And I
Mhm.
always talk to leaders, and it's like leaders themselves cannot change the culture. You cannot do that, but you can implement it towards where people have a trusting environment where now it's not about teamwork, it's about fellowship. It's about us having this shared vision, not just from
Mhm.
9 to 5, but after the 9 to 5 as well, too. So I talk to leaders about having compassion. Compassion, that's me and you. Passion, that's me having empathy for you while we're in this environment. And
Mhm.
people talk about charity, like I donate my time, I donate my money, but I'm talking about charity, the art of love. A lot of
Mm.
leaders, they leave the love at home. The moment they close the front door,
They
then
put on a different hat.
yeah, they just stone cold. They
Yeah.
just that's it.
Yeah.
But
I
when
love a lot of things that you just said. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
no, but I was just gonna say, a lot of leaders, they leave that part at home because they have to have that game face. But you still need to have charity, and that's the art of love.
Okay. One of the things I liked about what you said is that a lot of people, your mom, let's take your mom for
Yes.
instance, went to work because not because of the job itself, but she loved the people that she worked with. And I think what is happening or what I can see happening, and you can tell me if what I'm seeing is right or not, since this is your area of expertise, is that people are not creating bonds at work anymore. They don't know how to create friendships. They don't know how to go to work and be genuine. And then with the advent of remote working, I think it's even becoming harder for people because a lot of, at least back when I was working, a lot of my relationships came out of my work environment. A lot of my friendships and, who I would hang out with and what my social circle looked like came out of my work environment. But since leaving that, it's a little harder to make friends unless you're going out, you're a very social person, you're going to the bars, you're going to lots of networking events. It can become isolating. I know I said a lot, but I hope I made sense.
No, it's totally true. There are a
Mhm.
lot more barriers. And when you have these many barriers that are in place, a lot of people, they don't have a shared vision. They just have their vision. Their
Mhm.
vision is just to get the check. Their vision is they are work fatigued. Work fatigue meaning they're
Mhm.
tired of making decisions. And by them just being tired of making decisions, they only have enough effort just to do the bare minimum for the job. So it's not like they're trying to build a relationship. They're just trying to survive within the job. You may have a workaholic boss where once they finish
Mhm.
an assignment, it's like, okay, great. Now I can go to the water cooler. But no, now they have 10 more assignments that they have to do. Some people are overloaded where they don't have time to talk. It's not like they don't
Mhm.
want to have that friendship or to have that sidebar, but they really just don't have time for it anymore. So, like I always talk to people about what is the balance of work that you are giving these individuals. Some people are working through their lunch because they're so overwhelmed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I realized that through some interactions I've had with other leaders lately, that their work style definitely denotes how their contractors, their employees, whoever works with them. They feel that because they're workaholics, that everyone else should be a workaholic. I had one leader say to me that when they contact somebody, they expect that person to respond within an hour. And if they don't respond in an hour, it's a problem. If they call you on the weekends, you need to respond. If they call you at night, you need to respond. And I'm like, who's doing that?
Yeah,
That's unreasonable.
yeah, that's an unrealistic expectation. You have
Yeah.
some people who don't even respond to their spouse, kids, or family members within an hour. So that's kind of a lot. Like you're not
Yeah.
a personal assistant either.
Hmm.
So with that being said, I always tell leaders to set realistic expectations, and you can't expect you from other people. And when you do talk
Bingo.
about work, the best work we're able to do, the life we're intended to have, and then the balance that we are deserved. When you're
Mhm.
impeding in that balance time, people have resentment over that. How dare they get at me at this time? People start to get frustrated.
Yes.
All negative triggers that happens when you're impeding on people's balance
Personal
time.
time.
This
Mhm.
balance is like our rail. It's our guardrail. Like we have to be protective of that nobody comes into that space. So I always tell people, protect your space. You have to. You just have got to set those boundaries. There's no one paying you enough money for you to do
Mhm.
all that work. It's just not even worth it at the end of the day.
I like what you said about workplace or workload fatigue. Is that
Oh
what you?
yes.
Yeah. I've never heard about it put into those terms, but it does make sense that if you don't have some downtime at work. So I think a lot of bosses, especially if you're running a smaller business, trying to get as much out of their people in the time that they have them. So they're just kind of, like you said, constantly throwing work at them, but they're not realizing that their employees or are fatigued, right? Because they're not getting that 15 minutes that they need, or they're not comfortable taking that 15 minutes. They're not comfortable just sitting down and scrolling through their phones at lunchtime while they're eating their salads or whatever it is. They feel like they constantly have to be working. And I can see how that will cause workplace fatigue. But what can the leader do to identify these things and then solve it?
The first thing the leader can do is actually talk. You communicate, you talk to your team, you have a time where you are able to get that feedback where it's like no judgment here. Like
Mhm.
we're just all trying to get better. You want to make it seem like I'm trying to be accountable for my actions as a leader. And in order for me to be accountable, I want to know where I need to make the necessary tweaks and adjustments so that everybody is happy and everybody is sustainable. Because the thing about fatigue is if you're running in fatigue mode for too long, then it does turn to burnout.
Right
So I
now.
don't even deal with burnout. I deal with fatigue. And so you can
So
have those.
how does the leader first identify that there's a problem that they need to solve? Is
It,
it something that where they contact you, or people are leaving, or maybe people are leaving constantly? What is the catalyst for them to realize, hey, I need Shauntel to come in and help because there's a problem. And I need to assess what's going on. Where in the brain does that happen when they realize there's a problem?
yeah, so definitely like I was saying is that when you do have like the interactions with your team, maybe you
Mhm.
can have it in a group form, and then when you have it on a one-on-one basis where you're not necessarily talking about their work performance, but you're talking about their personal performance. Where you're actually now you're using your soft skills, emotional intelligence, where you're
Right.
really having that heart-to-heart conversation. And I always tell leaders to strategize it even more towards where you're not at the work environment, you're not at the work campus, where you're able to go off for lunch. When you're in a completely different environment and now your team member or your employee, they're not necessarily looking at you as their boss right now, but just someone who they're having an interaction with for lunch. Or you guys are walking somewhere. Then as you're walking and you're eating, then that's when that person kind of lets their guard down a little bit. And they might start to talk to you and say, hey, I'm overloaded right now. My spouse just had twins. We just moved. The commute is now 2 hours long, X, Y, and Z. But people will start to talk and they will start to tell you how things are affecting them. And like I always tell the leaders, just listen. Sometimes you don't have to reply back. People just need to get it off of their chest. And as they're getting it off their chest, you're doing healthy listening where you're listening to what they're saying. And then you can kind of come back later and see how you can strategize towards where you are alleviating that workload. Maybe it's this person needs to work hybrid 3 days a week. Maybe we need to start to delegate these tasks over to X, Y, and Z. Maybe we need to shift their working hours. Or you can always find pivots, but you want to be able to first appreciate what they're saying to you because that shows trust. And with
Yeah.
that trust, you have to make the necessary alignments within real time. And then
Mhm.
I always say the best way to do it too is like a feedback box where it is anonymous, where people can provide that feedback. Because one of my clients, they did an annual feedback. Well, annual, a lot of your people are leaving quarterly. Annual feedback, that's just waiting a little bit too
Too
long.
long.
And the results always showed in their engagement, employee engagement surveys, and they always got low scores. And I told her, if you're doing this on an annual basis, you're not giving it time for the scores to increase. You have to look at this box weekly. You have to talk to your team daily. You have to have daily communication. That daily communication, that builds trust. A lot of leaders, they assume that since they're the leader, that they automatically get this title of authority and
Yes.
trust and respect. But people just don't respect you because you're the CEO. It takes time to build that up.
You're right. And I think I asked the question because there, like I said, being in business, a lot of other business people. And one person, I was telling them for about a year, and it wasn't just me alone, like, a group of people who own companies and run companies, was telling your leadership style is lacking. There is something wrong with what you're doing. That's not how you lead. And over a year and a half, telling them the same thing over and over, and they just wouldn't listen to
Mm,
anything until practically the entire team quit at one time. And then they were like, oh, wait a minute, there's a problem here. Is it
right.
me? I was like, we were telling you this all the time. You are the problem. This is why you were having so many issues. It's your leadership style. You have unrealistic expectations of your team, right? And then you were not equipping them with the right tools to get the work done in an expedited format. So sometimes I guess you have to have some type of level of self-reflection in order to get to that point, or something major has to happen within the company, you know?
Yeah, and a lot of the times when I first partner with my clients, they can be executives, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and the one thing that I ask them is, what is their professional desire? And they're like, my desire, like I
Mhm.
don't know, like no one's ever asked me that before. They're like, I have a goal. And it's like, well, I have a goal too. I have a goal to put gas in my car tonight. I have a goal to wash clothes. I have a goal to cook dinner. Goals are temporary things. Sometimes we may think about these goals Monday through Friday, but a desire, that's something that we think about every single day. That's something
Mhm.
that we're going to be able to challenge ourselves to get through. So
Mhm.
once they can identify what their desire is, then I put that into my goal framework. And so the G, that is for galvanize the vision. Like your vision, that's going to be your North Star. And as you're moving towards that North Star, I want you to understand why you're moving towards that North Star. So I have them just write down their why just in one sentence. And now this one sentence is like their leadership manifesto. And what we'll do is we'll reverse engineer their success, breaking
Mhm.
it down from 5 years to 12 months. And then the O, that's to optimize your influence. Leadership is about impact. So I want you to map out your network. Who are your allies, your decision makers, your mentors, and then
Mhm.
to have value driven relationships. And like I said before, you can have these relationships by using your soft skills. And then the A, that's for aligned actions. I want to make sure that the leader's actions, their energy is being used towards that desired goal. Their energy, how can we audit that? We look at their work week, their work month, and then we see what necessary tweaks we need to make sure that they're focused on their desired goals. Then last but not least is the L, that's to leverage your legacy. Let's face it, the ultimate form of success is the legacy that we leave. And that legacy, that's the people and the systems that the leaders put in place. So, like
Mhm.
I tell them, mentor young future leaders, document your progress, and then celebrate your success. Because when you put the goal framework together, not only will you achieve your personal desires, but your goals will be multiplied times 10 through the people and the systems that you put in place.
Okay. Who do you see having the most issues when it comes to leadership? Is it small businesses, like entrepreneurs, small businesses or on a corporate level, like people who have been thrusted into a new leadership position in corporate?
It's really kind of weird because the people that I find having the most problems are two
Mhm.
different types of leaders. It
Okay.
is the seasoned leader, the leader that's been in the game for decades, but they are burnt out. They're tired. This is beginning to be too much work for them right now. And then it's the new leader that's
Mhm.
emerging on the field because they're dealing with self doubt and imposter syndrome.
Mhm.
So these two leaders are having different issues. So, like, what I like to do is I like to put them together.
Oh, okay.
And when you put them together, they're able to piggyback off of each other.
Okay.
And the leader that's a little bit burnt out, it's like,
Mhm.
okay, maybe you might be less burnt out if you're utilizing these new integrative, innovative techniques.
And
And
that's through your mentorship program?
well, not just through my mentorship program, but
Mhm.
that's what I encourage my clients to do is to
Okay.
find a mentor who's complete opposite of them.
Okay.
And then when you find your complete opposite, that's when you really can be able to start cooking with grease because now you have a institutional wealth of information, you
Mhm.
have integrated new innovative ideas, and you put those two together and it is really unstoppable.
Okay. When you talked about the seasoned leader, I thought you were going to say, they're having issues because they don't wanna change. That's what I thought you were gonna say.
You know,
Because, I mean, sometimes you find that people don't wanna change. They don't wanna keep up with technology or whatever is happening, and you hear a lot of complaints about millennials not wanting to work or Gen Zers not wanting to work, so I thought that's where that was going, but I get you.
yeah,
Burnout. And burnout, I guess burnout could be caused by all of that too.
yeah, and a lot of the times now it's really interesting because some of like the older seasoned leaders from like the silent generation or even baby boomers,
Mhm.
they're writing notes and you have Gen Zers that are not able to read the notes because they're written in cursive. They're like, they don't know how to read cursive. And so
Yeah.
that poses like another type of layer on how they're not able to communicate with each
Hey.
other.
Yeah, I was talking about that to someone the other day because my initial background was in education, and I was like, when they stopped teaching cursive, I saw ton of kids because I taught English language arts coming through, and I'll be writing on the board, and they're like, "Miss Allen, what's that?" you know, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "Oh,
Yeah.
are you writing English?" I'm like,
Mhm.
"Yeah." "Well, what?" Yeah, and I realized it was when they took cursive away, these kids couldn't write cursive, so then they couldn't read it. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's a
Mhm.
major issue for sure.
Yes, it is.
Mhm, mhm. And do you work with the employee side as well or just the leadership side?
Oh yeah, I work with the employees as well too because they're a part of that department. They're a part of
Mhm.
that ecosystem. So I have the most fun when I'm working with the team because
Okay.
now we're able to get things engaged. I work with them more on the level of like if we're doing a retreat or something of that fact. I
Mhm,
did a retreat and this was the first time that all of the individuals had been under the same roof because some were working on site, some were working from anywhere in the world, some,
mhm.
they had a dual part. So having that retreat, that's when we're able to really have that team building. That's when we're able to do those exercises. And now we start to learn a lot more within those 2 to 3 days than they did about each other working with each other for 2 to 3 years.
Okay. Do you suggest that, even for small businesses of 2 to 5 people, that they have some type of retreat on an annual basis?
Absolutely. You have to. That's the way
Mhm,
that you do get your team together. That's you guys do start to learn a lot and you guys start to have fun together.
mhm,
If you're just always working with somebody, there's that stigmatism. But if you're able to integrate play, then that opens you up a little bit more. I encourage that you're able to have retreats. I encourage that you guys go out into the community and participate in an Alzheimer's awareness walk, a breast cancer walk, where you go out and you plant trees into different communities, where you do
mhm.
go and shake hands and hold some babies. That's like really enriching. I think that everybody needs to be able to do that because it opens up another side of you because we're all humans. We all have some type of human need. And sometimes it shouldn't be for just monetary gain. We should be doing something and giving back to people at the same time. I think that that's like a really beautiful thing. And once again, it takes away that cringe factor when you think about work.
Yeah. I spoke to someone the other day, and one of the things he says, all of his team works remotely. So one they have a Slack. They use Slack for communication, and he has a Slack channel called the water cooler,
Hmm.
right? Because I mentioned that, a lot of people um, who are working remotely miss that water cooler morning, or drinking coffee and just catching up on shows or what happened over the weekend. And he said that's one of the reasons that he put that water cooler channel in his Slack, so that his employees can have those types of relationships. So what do you tell leaders who are leading teams completely remotely? They've never actually met these people in person, and the people who are working together have never met either.
One thing I would tell them is that you should definitely put together something where you do have an annual thing where everybody is meeting each other. I think that that's
Mhm.
very important. I think that when you do have meetings, maybe you should have breakout rooms where different people are able to chat, where they can kind of feel a little bit comfortable. Sometimes when you are on certain platforms, you feel a little bit vulnerable. You might be a little bit more comfortable to say, "Hey, I'm having a bad day. This is really rough for me." You may not want to put that in that water cooler side channel like that. You may not want to be so transparent, but you can do that if you are having a breakout. I would also encourage them maybe once out the week to have lunch with somebody virtually, have a virtual lunch.
Yeah.
DoorDash them some food. You're eating some
Mhm.
food, and now you're talking to them. You guys are both eating. You're learning some things. You're getting some fun facts out there. Tell them a joke. Maybe listen to a couple of songs. See what's on their playlist. That way, you can really kind of get an idea of what that person is about. If it's somebody's birthday, have a birthday party for them that day. Do a surprise birthday party. Um, Kind of keep them out of the Zoom room for a minute, then bring them on and be like, surprise. And it's just like those little things. Like, you really do have to be even more thoughtful and intentional when you do have those types of work platforms. But
Mhm.
put together different things. Send them a handwritten note that's saying thank you and mail it to them. That way, when they're checking their mail, it's like, oh, I got a letter from my boss. This is
Right.
so sweet. This is
Yeah.
so sweet. Now, you may not be able to necessarily get to them directly when you're on Zoom, but when you've sent them that letter, it goes directly right here.
To the heart. Yeah, it really does. I know that you said earlier that you are a best-selling author. Tell us a little bit about your book.
Yes, my book, it was released on March 1st. It's called Influence Yourself in Leadership and Life. This is my author's copy. And
Mhm.
in this book, the one thing that I really want to get across is that I don't want for leaders to be influenced on what their competition is doing or what bigger organizations are doing. I want you to stay authentic to your voice, your mission, your values. Protect your brand, your community, your team. If everybody is following behind somebody else, then who's really going to be that model of best practices? If everybody else is letting go of a system, I need for you to stand out and maintain that system and then create another system that's leveraged off of that. When you stand out and you be bold and you have this confidence approach, top tier talent is going to seek after you. It'll be like a magnet because they like your values. They like what you stand for. They like what you represent. They like that you're not taking stuff lightly and you're proud about it. And that's what I'm talking about leaving a legacy. I want for leaders to be resourceful. I want them to really tap into their team and then execute not just based on what they think is good, but what's good for the greater good. We need to bring back more good leaders. We need that. Right now, it's just so many toxic leaders, and they have like this
Mhm.
cannonball approach to how they're doing things, and it's just destroying the landscape. Like, I really want to make going back to work fun again because it should. We spend too much time there.
Yeah, I think that should be your tagline. Make going back to work fun again. A lot of people will be like, "What? Fun and work? Nah." Because when you go on social media, all you're hearing right now is people talking about how could they get out of corporate America. They're
Mhm.
trying to do a mass exodus. I don't know if it's because they don't want to work or the work environment is so stressful. that a lot of folks are trying to get into content creation where they can stay at home, be on the internet and make money that way. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's a big surge, but there's still gonna be people that will need the jobs. And
Oh,
leaders, there's
definitely.
always gonna be a need for the leaders. And
Yep.
the one thing about it is like how I say influence yourself in leadership and in life. So
Mhm.
just in life general, just influence yourself. We have so many things that are influencing us from governmental factors, from community factors, from politics. And it's like we have got to know how to just repel that stuff off of us and for us to still be able to be guided with our own mind, not with hysteria. It's like, oh no, oh no, I can't do that. Say, I'm gonna go over here. You guys go ahead and panic over here. You panic
Right.
over here, and then I'm going to move over here. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I do talk to my clients about is for them to create a panic room, not like Jodie Foster, where they're running into the room to lock and isolate themselves up, but more
Mhm.
like they're running into that room so that they do get that resilience. They do have a strategy. So when they exit out that panic room, they're no longer in fear and they can
Mhm.
be able to win in any situation. In order to win, you have to have a winning mindset. That's it.
I love it.
Hmm.
And when you say have a winning mindset, I think that is one of the catalysts that a lot of leaders have is a mindset shift about the position that they're in and what is expected of them out of that position. It's not just to be an iron fist, like you said, it's to be charitable, to bring the human element back into leadership. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, Tracy.
I love it. Okay, so leave our audience with 3 tips or strategies as leaders that they can take away.
One of the tips I would always advise is don't worry about what you can't do. Focus on what you can do. That's number one. Number two
Mhm.
is a lot of people use these I am statements. Just go to the mirror and say, you are. You are impeccable. You are brilliant. You are great. Once you keep saying the you are's, it just hits a lot different than the I am statement. And then three, last but not least, every day that you do get home, realize about what you are grateful for. Reflect on how you were able to serve that gratitude. Who were you able to serve today? And then look towards who will you be able to serve tomorrow. It's not about us getting stuff, but it's about us showing that love of servitude as well.
Awesome. And what makes you an impactor?
Is this is the life that I live. This is my calling, this is my mission, this is my God-given talent. So I'm actually helping people by helping people. This
Yeah.
is no fluff, it's no PR. This is what I do every single day of the week. This is what it's all about. So, like I said, if I'm not writing a book, if I'm not on stage helping out leaders, then I'm working with my clients one on one. So it's like a real hybrid approach, 3 different pillars, but in
Mhm.
each different pillar, you're getting a different layer of me. And I feel like as a coach, I have almost 20 certifications as a coach. I've
Wow.
been working in the corporate world for over 2.5 decades. So if you're able to hack into me for just 45 minutes, count it a blessing.
Oh, wow. Change your whole life. Because she's not new to this. She is true to this. Okay. um, so tell our audience how they can get in contact with you. And I know you have a special offer for them if they mention the show. So go ahead.
Yes, so I was able to provide you with my QR code, my social
Mhm.
media links, and also to the link to my book. And if you just want to get in contact with me, just like right now in real time, if you don't have access to those links, you can send me an email. My email address is Shauntel, SHAUNTEL at wishingyouwellinlife.org. And we can start to go into my frameworks a little bit more in depth and we can start talk about the programs that I do have. If you email me and you do mention the show, then I will offer you a 15% off on one of my programs. And then we can start to get to work and see what aligns with you best. Like I said, with over nearly 20 coaching certifications, we can be able to get things worked out. And I start off by offering all of my clients with a small win, and then we can work our way up to bigger wins.
Awesome. All right, Shauntel, thank you so much for being my guest here on Impactors Out Loud today. You dropped a lot of gems, and I think anybody who is in a leadership position, no matter what type of leadership position they're in, could get a lot of information and definitely a mindset shift about how they're leading their team, especially if they're having issues with leading their team today. So please, if you are a leader and you're struggling through leadership, your team is acting funny, right? Because that's what they start doing. They start acting kind of funny. They're not talking to you as much. The work isn't getting done in the manner that it should be getting done. There's a problem. Reach out to Shauntel and get coaching from her, because if you are going to be a success in your job, in your entrepreneurship journey, in your small business, you need to become a good leader. You need to become a strong leader. Shauntel, again, thank you so much for being my guest today. I truly appreciate it. Until next time, everyone, thank you for listening to Impactors Out Loud, and we'll see you on the next episode.